Hello everybody, happy Sunday and welcome to my kitchen. I know that I've titled this channel My Garden Journey, but it's going to be more about my apartment steading and my lifestyle. So today we're going to be making baked oatmeal. I tried it for the first time last week and loved it, so we're going to do a different flavor this week. And then we are also going to make a no-knead bread for dinner tonight. So we're going to do an apple flavored baked oatmeal. I'm going to peel my apple here. While I'm doing this, I will tell you a little bit about my cooking background. I actually have a bachelor's degree in baking and pastry arts. So I am a trained baker. I love cooking though. Love cooking, love baking, preserving. So for the applesauce we're going to use in this today, it's actually my own home canned applesauce. Just going to chop. After I chop this apple, I'll bring you all down to my level here. When we mix everything, you can leave the apple peel on if you want. I prefer it peeled in baked goods. Now I got this apple all diced up. I'm gonna bring you down. We're gonna show you the mixing process. This baked oatmeal is super simple. The recipe is 4 eggs. You can use more or less if you want. I use about 1/4 cup of milk. I'm using almond milk today. This is the unsweetened vanilla. You can use any dairy milk. I just get almond milk because it lasts longer in my refrigerator, and we're not super big milk drinkers. So 4 eggs, 1/4 cup of milk, 1/2 to 1 cup of fruit. So I'm going to use this chopped fruit, and then I'm probably going to use about between 1/2 and 3/4 cups of applesauce, a splash of vanilla, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm using Redmond's real salt today. I do have pink Himalayan salt too, but it's a coarser salt, so I'm going to use the finer Redmond's real salt. 1/4 cup of brown sugar or any sweetener today. I'm going to use Vermont maple syrup. Can't go wrong there. And then 2 cups of oats. I use the old-fashioned rolled oats. And then cinnamon or any spice to taste. I'm probably going to do cinnamon and just a little bit of clove. Let me bring you down here. We're going to move this out of the way and bring the baking dish over. So I'm using a 9x9 glass baking dish. I already have the oven preheating to 350 degrees. So we are going to start by cracking the eggs. I mix everything right into this dish here so that it makes it easier and less dishes in the end. There's 4 eggs. Four eggs, 1/4 cup of milk. So I have 1 cup measure, but there's measurements on the sides here. So I'm gonna measure this to 1/4 cup, maybe a little more. Then, oops. Sorry about that, guys. Then I'm going to, I have my salt in one of these fancy things here. I'm gonna do the 1/4 teaspoon in here. And I'm going to get these all scrambled up, and then I'll add the applesauce and maple syrup and vanilla. Alright, so no measurements for me on this vanilla here. I use vanilla like I use salt. Don't really measure that. And then maple syrup, about 1/4 cup. We're going to measure that out. Then we're going to pop on open this. I don't keep my rings on when I can. So I know if the seal is broken or not. we're gonna take about 3/4 of a cup of this applesauce here. I'm trying to stay in frame. That's about 3/4 of a cup. Get it in the dish. Mix that in. And I did not spray this pan. I didn't have trouble last time having it unsprayed. So for now, I'm not spraying it. We need another fork. So we have in there the eggs, the milk, part of the fruit. So we'll put in the rest of these, or the chunks of apple. The applesauce is going to give it good apple flavor, but I want those chunks to make it more substantial when I'm eating it. We have the vanilla, we have the salt, we have the sugar. Now we just need the spices and the oats. So I'm going to do just a little sprinkle of cloves. We have the cinnamon there. I'm not measuring this. It's going to be about a 1/2 teaspoon to a teaspoon. And then I do have my oats all measured out. So I wanted to use 1 measuring cup for this whole process. And mix it all up, and then I will top it with some butter and a drizzle of maple syrup. If you're using brown sugar, you would sprinkle your brown sugar on the top. And then butter, you can also omit that part. You don't need to add the butter and brown sugar on the top. It just gets it a little more crispy, a little extra flavor. All right, so this is what it looks like. This one's a little looser than my last one because I added that applesauce. Last time I just added banana for fruit, but that's okay. We're gonna add some, I do about 5 pats of butter, little pats. And then this is gonna go in a 350-degree oven for approximately 45 minutes. You can check it, I usually check it around a 1/2 hour and then continue to check it. All right, let's get this maple syrup to come out. We're just gonna drizzle, get a nice caramelized top on this. And let me bring you back up. That was super quick and simple. On video, it took me 9 minutes to put this together. I had all my ingredients set out on the counter to make it super easy. So we're gonna go and put this in the oven. The oven's not quite ready yet. So when the oven's ready, I'm gonna put this in for approximately 45 minutes, and then I will definitely show you the finished product. I'm gonna take a moment here, I'm gonna clean up a little bit, and then I will be right back with the no-knead bread. It'll be just a second for you, but it'll probably be about 10 minutes for me. And we're back to do the no-knead bread. I'm going to turn you down just a little bit. Maybe we can see the whole process. So this recipe is 3 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. You can use mostly all-purpose and add in some whole wheat. You could use high gluten flour if you wanted to. I'm going to stick with the all-purpose today. 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 whole packet. So this is a 1/4 ounce or 7 grams, and you want the active dry yeast. You don't want the instant. You're gonna do 1 1/2 cups of warm water. You don't want it too hot or you'll kill your yeast. You don't want it too cold or your yeast won't activate properly, and then it will take forever for your bread to rise. And then you're gonna use about 1 teaspoon of honey, maple syrup, brown sugar. I'm using honey today. This is a local to me honey. Unfortunately, I don't have my own bees, and I would love them. So for this, we're going to stir in the flour, the yeast, and the sugar. Well, I'm going to add the sugar in with the water. So the flour, yeast, and salt. We've got this big old tub of flour. So I need 3 1/4 cups here. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Now we need that 1/4 cup right there. We're going to do the salt next, which is 2 teaspoons. I'm going to fill my salt container. And I'm going to mix that into the flour before I add in that yeast so that it doesn't kill the yeast. You don't want to put your salt directly on your yeast or it could kill it. 1 packet of Active Dry. I do have a sourdough starter, and I do make sourdough bread. It's been in the fridge for a while now. I need to feed it, get it back up and running, but with my work schedule, I haven't been able to. Stir in that yeast. Now we're going to do 1 1/2 cups of warm water. My water warming. And then, so I'm going to pour in 1 cup, and then in the 1/2 cup, I'm going to add in the honey. And then mix it in. It's going to be a pretty shaggy looking dough, which is what you're looking for. Warming up now. Again, you don't want your water too hot or it could kill your yeast. Don't want it too cold either. Half. And then I'm going to put my honey in my 1/2 cup of water here, and then I'm going to mix that a little bit. This honey is getting old, getting crystallized, and hard to pour. And I'm not going to measure this, I'm going to just eyeball about a teaspoon, maybe a little bit more. I want the bread a little bit sweeter. Mix that up in there to get that dissolved. Once that honey is mostly dissolved, I'm gonna pour this in. This up. I do really want to get a bread whisk. I just haven't ordered one yet. So for now we're using a wooden spoon. You see it's pretty shaggy looking. I may have to add just a touch more water. Maybe not. Do just a teaspoon at a time. Actually, we'll do 2 teaspoons. You don't want to add too much at a time because you need way less than you think you do usually. In there with my hands. Then once this has risen, it's going to rest for an hour on the counter covered with plastic wrap. So many more. I'm going to get some in my hands here. We are going to form it into a ball. A nice smooth ball. All right, so the gluten structure is not super developed in this, which is totally fine, but that's about what I'm looking for. A nice shaggy looking dough. I am going to probably spray this bowl down with some cooking spray, and then I'm going to cover this with plastic wrap. I'm going to let it rest for an hour, and then I'll be back to show you guys the next steps. We are back to pull out this beautiful baked oatmeal. This is the apple baked oatmeal. Leave it right here. At this point, I am going to turn the oven up to 450 degrees to prepare it for the bread. We still have about half an hour, but this is that beautiful baked apple oatmeal. And then here's what our bread's looking like. It's rising. We'll be back when the bread is ready. Alrighty, now that the oven is preheating for the bread, we're gonna stick the Dutch oven in the oven so that they can heat up at the same time, lid and all. So I've got it at 450. Now we are going to flour this parchment, turn out the dough onto here. So I will turn you down. So we got this parchment floured. You're going to take our dough, which has about doubled in size, and take this beautiful dough and turn it out on to the parchment paper with the flour. So now I'm going to press it out a little, fold all the sides into the middle. I'm going to take some more flour here, and then I am going to do this nice little squeeze to round the top of this here. You're going to just pat the top with flour. I am going to get some of this excess flour off of here so that it doesn't burn when we get this in the oven later. And then I'm just going to cover this with plastic wrap we're going to let this rest for about another 20 minutes to half an hour while our Dutch oven and oven is heating up. Keep that nice and covered. I'm gonna let this rest, and we will be back when the oven's ready. We're gonna put this loaf in the Dutch oven. I am gonna put a little score on the top of it so that the air has someplace to go when it's rising. And then we'll cook this for about 30 minutes with the lid on. I will then take the lid off to release all that steam and bake it for another 10 to 20 minutes. And then we'll have a nice crispy loaf, but I'm gonna show you this whole process. So we'll be back when this goes in the oven. It is time to get this bread in the oven. I just got ready to film this clip. We're a little behind because the heat decided to kick on right as I got in the kitchen, so I had to get that shut off. Our bread is nice and proofed. We're gonna score the top of this. I'm gonna use a paring knife. I would normally do this with what's called a lame. My lame is at my job right now. I'm just gonna make one fairly deep slice in the top of this loaf here. That'll allow the air to escape, and it won't make its own score. You could leave this without scoring and it'll crack on its own. So I'm gonna grab my Dutch oven out of the oven. Make sure you're using oven mitts. I'm gonna take this lid off here. Be very, very careful doing this step because you don't want to burn yourself. So we're gonna get this all lined up. I'm going to drop in my loaf here. Don't burn yourself on this Dutch oven. We're gonna get this back in the oven. You want that lid on. That lid will help create steam. Put that in the oven and we'll get you back up here. The lid will help create steam, which will allow what is called oven spring, which is the rise of your bread. So you can make any flavor of this bread that you want. You could leave out the sugar. There's a process where you could ferment it. So you use way less yeast. You don't use any sugar. You ferment it overnight. So you let it bulk ferment in the bowl before you do any shaping overnight. And then you do your shaping the next day. Or you can do this quick bread, which is what I did today because we wanted it with dinner tonight. But in the mixing process, you could add in herbs. You could add in flavored oils. You could add in roasted garlic. You could really add in anything. You could do sun-dried tomatoes, anything you want into the mixing process. You'll let it rise, you'll shape it, and then put it in just the same as we did. So we put that in a 450-degree oven. We are going to cook it with the lid on for a half an hour. After that half an hour, I'm going to come out and take the lid off. I'm going to let that cook for another 10 to 20 minutes. Releasing the lid releases the steam, and that allows the bread to get nice and crispy. We want a nice crispy crust on that bread. I will be back with you guys when I'm taking the bread out of the oven to show you how beautiful it looks. We are at the last and final step for the bread. It is ready to come out of the oven. I'm gonna pull this out. Oh, it is beautiful. I'm gonna take it out of my Dutch oven, being super careful not to burn myself. You guys. All right. Check out this beautiful loaf of bread. I'm gonna listen to it. I can hear it talking. So look at how beautiful, golden, crusty, sounds hollow. So that is the process of the no knead loaf of bread. It looks like a beautiful loaf of sourdough, but it is not. You can make it more fermented and sour tasting by doing the longer process. But like I said, tonight we wanted it quick and easy, so this is how we did it. This channel is going to be a little bit of everything. My garden, my meat chickens this year, some homemade foods like this loaf of bread and the apple cinnamon baked oatmeal. It has cooled down. I cut it into 6 pieces. I store it in this container, and then I have a small round glass container that I put 1 piece in every day, and I take it to work with me for my breakfast. So it's going to be a little bit of everything. If there's any specific video you want, like food wise or garden wise, we have over a foot of snow right now. My gardening won't start until quite a while from now. So in the meantime, I'm going to be doing some unboxings and other things to get us all excited for the garden. But yeah, thank you for tuning in on my second video. I can't wait to eat this bread tonight. We're having meatloaf, bread, and broccoli for dinner tonight. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time.